The brand man clarified. So we were talking about Ian Fitzsimmons. He's a radio host on ESPN. He's got a show. And he was in Eugene, and he interviewed Dan Lanning. So we got Dan Lanning audio we're going to play here in a second. And so it was more like, why would Ian Fitzsimmons be in Eugene? He's calling this game at a different venue. He doesn't do his show in Eugene. He lives in Dallas.
He does college football sidelines, but the Big Ten and ESPN do not have an agreement.
The brand man clarified. So Ian Fitzsimmons has a kid who goes to Oregon, so he's probably doing a parent drop-off.
It's probably going on right now.
Which, by the way, would be
relatively
early, because when I went to Oregon State and Oregon didn't start school until about September 27th.
That's a good point. I would ask, what age is the kid? Because I remember having some years where I would go down, I would move down early, just kind of hang out for a couple weeks.
No, I get why you go early, but I remember being in school, there was a year I didn't go back to Corvallis until like September 21st or something.
Yes, the school starts late. There was a hilarious, honest answer from Jed Fish at his press conference the other day, and he was like, well, look, we're really excited that we're on a quarter system, and for the next 3 weeks, our guys just get to do football. It's like, yeah, that's great. If you get it, it's awesome.
But Ian Fitzsimmons got to pop into the football center down there since he's bringing his kid back, and he got to do a one-on-one with Dan Lanning. So we got random Dan Lanning audio.
The Danimal. What did he tell Ian Fitzsimmons?
Well, let's start. Let's play all three clips here. Having NFL scouts watching their practice, Oregon has become one of the bigger programs to produce NFL talent the last couple years under Dan Lanning.
That they have.
You would assume that would keep going with the 4 or 5 stars that he gets. Here's Dan Lanning on having scouts at his practice on the regular basis.
Well, one, I think it shows, the truth. I want these guys to get great evaluations on our players, and I think it's hard to do that just watching film. You want to see guys' practice habits. You want to see how they work on the field. Two, it's a motivation to our players. You go a little bit harder when you see that Chiefs logo on the sideline or that Giants logo on the sideline. Every day matters. And we have great relationships with teams in the NFL. I mean, that's a big win for us. And we've had a lot of players go on to have a lot of success in the NFL, and we just want to keep that great relationship.
I think it's a sneaky good point of the best of athletes have moments, days that it's just like you just don't feel it. You're tired, your body hurts.
Middle of the grind.
Man, you show up and you see a Cowboy star or a Chief arrowhead or a Seahawk logo. You are, all right, here we go. Let's get this going again. So I think that's a really good point. Here was Dan Lanning with Ian Fitzsimmons on ESPN Radio talking about the quarterback room this year. We still don't have an announced starter.
We do not. No depth chart, no announced starter yet.
Everybody's betting on their mom that it's going to be Dante Moore, but here's Dan Lanning on the quarterback room.
I really like what we have. We got a dynamic group that all have different skill sets, and I think Will does a good job of calling it based on who's in the game. You've got guys that are really familiar with our process or familiar with our checks, like Dante and Austin have been here for a long time. Luke Moga's a guy that has a great running ability and athletic ability. I think that showed up in the spring game, and then you got some young guys too. Like Brock Thomas has been here for a while now, and he understands exactly what we're doing, and has been as good out there on the field for us as anybody else this offseason.
I love when the fourth quarterback gets a shout out.
The local walk-in kid. I think Brock Thomas is a Sheldon High School kid, I believe. It's just a local walk-on.
Hasn't announced it, but again, I think everybody would bet a decent amount of money that Dante Moore is going to be the starting quarterback for Oregon. Here is Dan Lanning on not releasing a depth chart.
Yeah, I don't announce a starting 3 technique. I don't announce a starting running back. I mean, what's the benefit for our organization? Some people are like, well, hey, people know. They come to practice every day. They know how we operate. I don't see a ton of benefit, and I love the fact that we have great competition. You got to go out there. Football, it's not a mortgage. You don't own it, right? You got to pay rent every single day. And if there's a spot that you earn out there on the field, you got to turn around and earn it again the next day. So that's what makes us better. That's what creates a great team.
I would tell you that I think of anybody, I have been as complimentary of Dan Lanning as a coach of anybody on our radio station. I'm not even a Duck fan. I think he's great. I would counter with his point of what's the benefit. I would say, well, to help your media partners out locally of understanding how you're viewing your own team.
Who's going to play.
But you would counter with, watch the games, right? And I'm you're right. But also, that's, how does it hurt you against Montana State to have a 2 or 3 deep?
Oh, that corner is the number 2 corner and not the starting corner? I think a lot of this stuff is kind of paranoia from coaches. I tend to agree with you there. It's how he's always operated it, and he will always operate this way. On the first note with the draft stuff, it is interesting because this year is seen by most, or some, I should say, as a drop-off in talent. The original ESPN mock draft, now this stuff's a year out. Who the hell knows how it plays out? But there was an ESPN mock draft for 2026 that came out. You know how many first-round picks they had coming from Oregon? 4. They had Kenyon Sadiq going in the top 15. They had Isaiah World going in the top 20.
Mateo.
They had Mateo going in the back end of the first round and Dylan Thieneman going in the back end of the first round. So you had 4 first-round picks potentially.
Yeah, it's not going to drop off the way people act like
There's still a lot of NFL talent on this team, and that's why scouts are there every single day. I don't think Oregon, I don't know what their program record is for first-round picks, but I sure as hell know they've never had 4 in the same year, which is ironic considering this is supposed to be one of the lesser talented teams by some on the outside looking at them because of what they lost. The quarterback stuff, look, we all assume Dante Moore will be the starter. I will be surprised probably at this point if that isn't the case on Saturday.
We have Yogi Roth Friday. Dirty came out.
Dude,
Basically
he is
did
making
another one.
He needs to stop. Yogi Roth needs to stop. It's becoming a problem.
He's basically making it sound like he's just as good as Gabriel and Nix.
He needs to slow down. Okay, I'm getting too excited.
Can you tell him this?
I would tell him
on
this.
Friday. Like,
Pump the brakes, Yogi. Yogi, do a thing where you say he sucks.
Hey,
so
boo.
But slow down.
I need you to slow down.
Slow down. You're touching my kink here. This is getting a little weird, Yogi.
That's your kink.
Duck quarterback play gets me going. But I like.
What's role playing like at your house?
Blue 32. Is there do you split at all? Is there a series anywhere for somebody else? Is it not until the blowout that we all assume is hopefully coming, unlike last year, and it's 35-0, and then Novosad comes in?
We see 3 quarterbacks this weekend, right?
Do we see? That's what
Moga,
they love Luke
Novosad.
Moga, and I'm a spring football P1. Yeah. Go back and watch the spring game. The guy he's an incredible athlete.
Yeah,
I don't know how he is as a functional quarterback down in and down out, but he is one of the best athletes on the entire field. And so, look, it's keeping me in the dark on what this stuff will look like on Saturday, which almost makes me more intrigued. So, in one way, he is winning this battle by making me more excited to watch the game to see how it all shakes out. But just what series guys get, where do they play, how does the rotation go? And you could say that about a lot of positions. I think the last thing I'll say, the fun part about Oregon this year is that I do genuinely believe him where they feel like they have enough depth where the depth chart will be different literally every week.
That's fair.
At corner, you got so many different variations that you can go with. On the defensive line, they got a lot of guys that they can trust. I think I watched the interview with Rashad Samples the other day, their running back coach.
Uh-huh.
They feel like all 6 running backs they have can play and can be impact guys.
They have 2 young guys.
They have 2
right?
young guys, Jordan Davidson
Yep.
and De'Aaron Hill, who they're just in love with. And I think he called them in the interview Thunder and Lightning, and they're turning heads in fall camp.
And those are guys that you don't hear as much about versus Malachi
Noah Whittington
Hughes.
is back, and Mekhi Hughes is back.
Right.
And so do you have games where there's rotations different there, right? So that's the one part the point I will see Lanning is that I do genuinely believe him where he says every week the depth chart will look differently. And so in that regard, I guess it makes sense to not release one.
Let me ask you this, and then we'll move on. We'll get into some NFL stuff. Will he announce it this week, or will it just be a rollout for the game? Because Stein made it sound like they were going to announce it that presser audio we
did.
played.
He said we're close to making an announcement.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was just an internal announcement
I think that's
or
what it was, internal.
A depth chart decision internally for them, but not. He's talking today. So he's talking. I think today is the last day he will talk before.
Yeah, he'll talk after
prime
practice with a couple
tomorrow.
of players, and then he'll be on with prime time tomorrow.
Yeah. And he will have his coaches show, which I believe is tonight.
Tonight, 7:05.
So we have three
opportunities left to announce a starting quarterback.
Would you bet that he announces or doesn't announce?
At this point, I would say no. If he was going to announce it, I think he was already going to.
If he's going to announce, my guess it would be on the coaches' show tonight.
Yeah. But that's also like Jerry and Jorgie do a great job on that show. That's not like investigative, That's who's your starting quarterback? Name it. That's more of a press conference.
That's an Oregon Ducks presentation to the public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if he's going to do it, feels compelled to do it, wants to do it for whatever reason, I would imagine that would be the platform he would choose.
We'll see. We got 3 more chances before they kick off on Saturday.
There was Dan Lanning talking with Ian Fitzsimmons of ESPN Radio.